Hello there, it's Mike.
And Katie. This week, it's episode 135. Mike, what are we talking about this week?
America, summer camp, and baseball movies.
This week on Cup of Rad.
Hey everyone, we're back. We are so sorry about last week.
Our brains were melting.
Pretty much. We were just piles of goo on the floor. Our area hit a heat wave.
We set record temperatures for the whole country that haven't been touched since like 37.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good times.
We were hotter than Vegas at one point.
Multiple points.
And we don't have air conditioning. So everything kind of went to shit.
We spent the entire weekend at the lake in the water.
Yeah. Head just bobbing out.
Yeah. And then coming back into the heat was just awesome. I mean, we were camped downstairs.
5 fans on us.
Hurricane of fans on us to survive. It was an experience.
It was hot. It was disgusting. And
well, because the problem was it was super, super warm in the day, but it didn't cool off at night.
Yeah.
And it was really humid. So
it was only
pushing
cooling down about like 5 to 10 degrees from the hottest temp that would hit.
It was more than that, but it's still not no, you're right.
Because then
it was
then
that
the humidity,
warm.
hit.
And the humidity would hit in, because we were having like 40% humidity or higher.
So
it was good stuff.
Temperature rang in around like 35 to 37, but it felt like
the worst day was 47 degrees Celsius, and it said it felt like 52. Which is like 126 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So it was a little hell on earth here. And, so that kind of stopped anything from, we weren't able to watch anything. Like when it finally started cooling down, we had a night of normalcy and we started watching something and it just felt so good. And then that later that night, I think we went outside in the backyard and it was actually a decent breeze that you could feel the air moving and it felt so marvelous.
Yeah.
And it was okay. Well, we're over this. We can start seeing the other side of it, and it's just been so much better. So it's been warm in the middle of the afternoon.
Still feeling warm.
Like it's definitely summer, but it's cooling off at night, and it's just it's bearable.
Yeah, it still feels like summer.
Yeah, and
but it's not to the point where I have to check the cats to see if they're alive.
Well, it was a little worrisome because they were just not moving. They'd find a spot on the hard floor and just lay there all sprawled out, and it was difficult. So, but hopefully we don't see that again this summer.
Yeah, I don't know. They claim we might see those temperatures again. It might become a bit of a new norm for us, which is kind of terrifying.
But the province was, it went all the way across there, and it's caused now a lot of fires, unfortunately, and it really has just gone haywire with everything. So,
well, I don't think I've ever actually seen a campfire ban.
Yeah.
Ever. That I'm aware of, like not to be able to even use the pits, right, for small cooking.
Yeah, fires are always banned, but that's usually property fires and like bushfire cleaning.
Yeah, cleaning out, but like but they were actually to that point where it's like full on ban of any fire of any type. So that's pretty wild to see. So, but we had a whole bunch of stuff like more. Like life stuff, not a lot of like entertainment stuff. So not only were we melting, I had a job interview, COVID shots. It literally was just
Mike got his second shot.
A lot of stuff going on. So it wasn't very cohesive.
And I've been really busy at work.
Yeah.
I work in extra hours too, and it's just a little bit of everything happening.
So we left you high and dry,
But school was out, and because that's what happened. School was out, and then the heat wave hit.
Yeah, so we're lucky we didn't have to go to school and be in that heat.
Because there was a couple districts locally here that were still in school, and they were canceled for at least one day. I don't know if not 2 days. So luckily, we didn't have to worry about kiddo needing to get to sleep because he couldn't get to bed any earlier than we were.
Yeah.
Because he needed a little bit of coolness, but he was sleeping downstairs in the living room with us. And so yeah, that was lucky that we didn't have to worry about getting focused with you guys. And, my work, I was lucky enough to have air conditioning at work. So it was definitely easier to get going. And, it was we get there and, okay, well, I think my makeup is still in place and my hair is just air dried and it's just, you know what, we're here. We're just going to deal with that. One of my coworkers is also in the same boat. We're just like surviving.
Yeah, it was definitely a different experience.
Yeah.
So we get warm weather here, but it's usually August.
Yeah, well, when we went to the lake, we always go to the same beach and we have a spot that we really like. And we were sitting there and we're like, why do we have so much sun? We normally have it. We only usually have sun in the morning, and then the whole afternoon we actually don't have sun, which can be a problem sometimes because it gets a little cold. And we're trying to figure out like why it hasn't gone away. Well, I don't remember the last time we were at the lake in June. It's always in August, and it's just that little bit. The sun is a lot lower and it goes behind the trees more.
Yeah,
and
well, the lake that we also go to is glacier fed, so it usually isn't as usable that early in the year.
Yeah, because the air has to be over 30 almost to be able to be usable there.
Yeah.
And we were
hours in the lake, like in the water. It wasn't like you're on a floaty outside the water. It was like we were using pool noodles and just kind of like sitting on them and like water up to your chin.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. It was like a Western.
And because normally that's the lake where we get like we're numb and we have goosebumps, and I guess we'll get out of the water because we can't feel our appendages anymore. But this was we were there from 8:30 to 5 both days.
Yeah.
And and totally, you get out of the water and, within a half an hour, everything was dry.
Yeah.
And, but the first day, because we were in the sun a whole bunch, like I actually got a heat rash on my knees. From, like, the sun was actually too warm and we got pretty burnt. So the next day we found a full shade spot. And that was much better, but it was still plenty warm. Yeah. So that was what we were up to. It was a couple rad at the beach.
Pretty much. So which was, So it was
really nice this last week, and we didn't have to go out anywhere. We could just be at home and enjoy our normal life stuff.
Right.
So
here's a little soapboxy Canadian history for you. It's not the best news. I don't know where you are in the world, but if you've heard, Canada does have a lot of dark history, dark roots, like most countries do, but ours is starting to come to light more frequently now.
Yeah.
So this last year, Canada Day wasn't really a celebration. It was a day to reflect on some of the horrors that have recently come to pass. And usually we don't get too political on the podcast because we try to keep it light and airy. But I think it's one of those things to inform and allow people to know. But Canada, since the 1800s, they had run residential schools through the Catholic Church. And residential school was to take Indigenous people from their homes, children, and bring them to, which was told, a place to teach them. And through history, it was found out that it was a place for them to breed, quote, the Indian out of them. Try to make them like the Western civilization that was very God-based and conversion camps, basically.
Yeah.
They would cut their hair. They would tell them not to their language, not to believe in their spirits and their gods.
Wouldn't feed them properly.
Wouldn't feed them proper nutrition. You took kids that were used to fish and berries and things like that, and now you're giving them oatmeal and starches and all these things, and it made them sick. Recently in British Columbia, there was 300
Well, it was 215 originally.
Yeah, 215.
And then there was another 101.
Yeah, something like that. Found unmarked graves of children that were in these schools.
Yeah.
And these are found on the original places where these schools were. And there was already a huge number of kids that had died through miscarriage, abuse, all this kind of stuff. But this is recent. It's just been the last couple months. And then again in Saskatchewan, another...
That was 700 that they found in Saskatchewan. And these are people that are just never were accounted for. They just never came home. Yeah.
They went missing.
And they also, even more, I heard that they would quote unquote send them home, but they would just put them out in the wilderness and tell them to walk home. Yeah. And they would just die out there. So there's ones that are out there that you'd never find anyway.
Yeah. And So this is a really somber time for Canadians because we do have a lot in our country to celebrate because we are diverse and all that, but there needs to be that reconciliation still to how the Indigenous were treated and continue to be treated, because a lot of people will say, well, just get over it. It was the past. I know I said 1800 is when these schools started, but the last residential school in Canada that the government continued to fund through the Catholic Church ran until 1996.
That's way too recent.
Right? So there is still generations of people that are still dealing with that trauma from those schools within their own community.
Well, because there are so many people right now that are aware of people. They were either survivors of a residential school or lost someone in a residential school, or their, known relatives were part of it. Mm-hmm. It is not something where it's like my great grandparent was part of this thing. It's people alive today went to them. And
I worked with an Indigenous woman that when the Kamloops school had found out, she knew people and had relatives up in the area that now they unfortunately have a bit more closure because now they have an idea of where their loved ones are.
Yeah.
Because they are those children just disappeared and never came home. Right. So that was wild to experience too, to be able to see that and talk to someone that
like someone is
literally
right
like, she's only about 15 years older than me and had that kind of that connection and that realization that's how
recent it is.
Recent this still is. And there is no just getting over it. There's the idea that reparations need to be made. And
well, this is on top of all the other old atrocities that were there that have continued to make. The more you learned about generational trauma and trauma in general in your schooling has really changed my viewpoint on how I grew up and opened my eyes to the damage is unfathomable.
Yeah.
What was done here and down in the States. Yeah. I mean, and I had my eyes closed to it when I was growing up because the history only shows us the positives of this but it always paints it old, and it's like something that it's not a current thing, and any of the people that are alive that are that ancestry are told to not have to worry about it because it was in the past. Well, trauma lives on through all these generations, and it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's not something that should just be told to be forgotten. It's really changed the way I think about it, and it's just devastating, overwhelmingly devastating. I can't even imagine what these people are going through.
Oh yeah.
And we talked a lot on Canada Day about some of the different viewpoints and the different sides, right? And I saw this one post and I thought was perfect for it. The idea that, imagine your neighbors are having funerals, not just a funeral, but funerals for their children. And you're next door having a party and throwing fireworks and having a great time. And I thought that's a perfect way to think about it. That this year, especially, even more so out of the respect for it, deserve to not have those fireworks. The cancel Canada Day makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
And it doesn't mean that we can't still be proud Canadians and so on forth, but we have to respect that there is a lot of people that were here before us grieving at the atrocities that were committed in the ideals of Canada.
Yeah. So really, thinking, what are you proud of for being a Canadian? What, there is positives about, I think this country has amazing potential and in their forward thinking social ideas that they do have over, kind of some of those top social concepts in the world. But yeah, there's so much of that at the same time was built on a lie or a robbery, essentially, right? So
there are groups out there that if you're interested to be able to support, Every Child Matters is the main group. They do an Orange Shirt Day in September. I believe it's September 30th. And it's the idea of wearing an orange shirt because there was one girl that had gone to one of these schools wearing an orange shirt. that she had just gotten because she thought she was going to a good place, and then it was taken away from her, and everything was taken away from her. So the idea is that we wear the orange shirt to show that every child matters.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And there is the group, and you can buy official T-shirts from them and things like that, lanyards and cups and that help support Indigenous and all that. So that's something to look at. Just to kind of help those, and
you know what, those. And also look in your local countries too. I mean, I'm sure that there are the same concept everywhere, because unfortunately the same atrocities was elsewhere. Right?
And it's easy enough of when that comes around, look up the exact date because I believe it's September 30th. But just wear an orange shirt and post support if you believe, to help support the Indigenous in your area to see that they are being seen.
Yeah, because it does. I think there's lots of work that still needs to be done because there's still not equality and reparations. I have a really hard time with that word. Do still matter, I think.
Yeah. So, and I do think that on an extreme measure, the Catholic Church needs to come back with some money
they need to
help find ways to mend these bridges. And it's not necessarily giving money to the Indigenous, but it's finding and not giving choosing records. Things, giving the records, because that's some of the things some of them are holding back still is the records that are in the graves.
Well, try to find names for these,
so people can have their piece, but give the money so that they can create those centers to help with the trauma and the community centers and things like that. And
they can't turn around and say, well, we've made this park for you to memorialize. They need to not make any choice whatsoever of what that community needs. They need to say, what do you need? Here's money for whatever you want to use it for. And we're not making a choice. We are just supplying a way forward for you to make your own choice. And that's the biggest thing, is that symbol that they don't get to pick.
No.
That
because
that
they
culture,
picked years ago, and they created that generational trauma that leads to the stereotypes that people like to think.
Right? We created that ourselves.
Yes, we created all those negative images that people like to blame and say that there's problems. But unfortunately, the government and the church created those by creating trauma.
Yep.
So there's my soapbox.
Very important topic.
It is because I don't think that, we can just ignore the sins of our forefathers. We need to, no matter where we are, how they're treated, how people are treated. The Black people in America are treated.
Yeah,
the Indigenous
really
people in New Zealand and like Africa and Australia, they colonized and they hurt people, and then that they thought, no, whatever, it's not going to ever come back. Well, it does, because it just builds.
Yeah.
And it's even, that's what we've talked about before when we've gotten our soapbox on talked about generational trauma. Generational trauma just compounds.
Yep. And it never goes away.
It doesn't go away unless you fully deal with it. But we don't, as a society, have the ability to deal with it and to deal with the mental health problems. And it just continues to compound. And I believe that this is why we'll never truly see a renaissance. Yeah. Again, we are only going to move into more of dystopia and apocalypse and barren. And because we ruined so many generations of people,
we can't come back
so long ago that we just can't seem to fix it.
You got to think of our history wise, like, out of the Dark Ages for the Renaissance, that was our push forward out into the world. So much more, and by expanding like that, and we've just we've seen certain cultures flourish of people who colonize things. And
it's disappointing.
Yeah,
but so Every Child Matters Orange Shirt Day. Look that up and see what's in your area to help support those that are still not seeing the equality and the diversity that they need.
Yeah.
So with that, change of gears, we'll get a little bit more back on the pop culture-y, segue of sorts as we ride on down the road. This is a supersized episode. This one's stuffed full. This is your full on, after we talked about all that, this is your full on America deep fried, Oreo infused, dipped in beer episode. You know,
Oreo infused.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oreo infused. I think more things should be Oreo infused.
Well, you know what? That's what happens. You go to a fair and it's been deep fried, battered, slathered in something and served to you on a stick.
Stuffed in something.
And this one here is getting stuffed into your ears with a ton of shit. All right, so we got to figure out where we're going to jam this into your ears. What part of this turducken is going to happen today?
Oh,
you know,
that's a word I wish I had never learned.
Why?
Because it's creepy. Not the word, the thing.
Oh, the actual act of
the turducken is disturbing to me. Okay, and it's a really weird word too.
Yeah, because it starts with turd. Hey, turds.
I guess
like, you ever think about you're out there barbecue? Like, what are you barbecuing? The turd. What? Duckin'. Turducken. No, I heard turd. I'm not eating that shit. No.
You look like Keegan-Michael Key right there.
That's impossible.
No, when you said it, yes, you did.
It's deeply impossible.
The facial expression. How about that? Is that better?
Because I'm ruggedly handsome.
Of course.
Gotcha. So
camp.
So camp, you know, so we started a theme. Last week we were going to have a theme. It was going to be camp episode. Summer camp.
Yeah.
Summer camp. That's right. It was going to be movies.
Because with it being summer, kiddo was like, I'm not going to bed, so we're watching movies.
Yeah, so I was like, we're going to theme this. So we decided to do a summer camp theme, right? And so we started our summer camp theme with Camp Nowhere. Mm-hmm. Christopher Lloyd stars as an out-of-work actor. And an
he's a not actor. He's a drama teacher.
Yeah, drama teacher. Though.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. So the kids are all going to be going off to their respective camps, and they don't want to go there. So they end up using the actor guy to.
Well, they hire him to basically act as the camp recruiter for their individual camps that their parents want to send them to.
Yeah.
So then they take.
It was still a different camp, trying to prove that the camp that he was in was better. Right?
Yes, exactly. So, but it's that same style, right? The main character, his dad wanted him to go to a computer camp. So it is a computer camp, but it was much better. And then he showed excitement for it. So then the parents all ran for it, right? So we had a military camp, fat camp, computer camp, and drama camp. That was the main, core of them. And then more kids get involved, and they rent this old campsite looking
hippie
place.
Commune.
It was a hippie commune, huh?
Yeah.
And they show up there, and so they have no adult supervision. It's just all kids going crazy, and Lloyd's character's off in a cabin down the road away, and
doing his own thing.
He's just happy to park himself there for the 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And
so it came out in 1994. Mm-hmm. I don't remember it fully. So this is a hard RADstalgia.
I don't remember ever seeing it myself. If I did, it was accidental and I forgot about it. Let's be honest.
But I really enjoyed Christopher Lloyd's performance in this movie.
It was really fun.
Especially when he was playing all the different counselors and all that.
Yeah. He did such a good job.
Yeah, it just showed he actually has more range as an actor. He's not always the screaming scientist, right? And he was just so likable.
Yeah.
As much as he was a con artist.
You knew that he was doing something because he's trying to run from the law. He's got loan collectors after him. And, he's totally shady, but he really did care about the kids. And by the end of it, it was just so awesome.
Yeah, right? So they go through camp. Their summer basically just doing whatever they want. So they're just partying basically all the time.
All sorts of activities, and
because they had all the money, because each camp was like $3,000, right?
Yeah.
So they had all this money, so they started spending it, and they started getting the attention of the cops and stuff like that.
Because they set off a whole bunch of fireworks.
Yeah.
And that set off the alarms there. People were complaining, right?
Yeah.
Because by this time, there was 12 kids or something like that. 15 kids, something like that.
Yeah. So then it gets to the point where the parents have decided that they're going to come visit the camps.
Well, because they realize too, though, that because one burns himself, he has to go and get medical treatment. And so then that changes a side story for Lloyd.
Yep. And the doctor in that is actually the mousy chick from Sister Act.
Oh yeah.
Right, and like you look at her from that, and you look at her then, and it's like two different. Like it showed her acting range too, right? Like because like she was just more of the free spirited doctor feeling that versus like the other one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool when you start seeing, these actors in different roles too, right? So.
But yeah, so Parent Day, they weren't gonna have a Parent Day, but the parents are all pushing on it. Basically, like you need, I'm just gonna come up there and see you, and they're just like, okay, we have to figure this out and make it run on our terms. So they decide to bamboozle all of them and invite them and make a show Parent Day.
Yeah, for every camp.
Yeah.
Right? So then they have to go through and they have to create all 4 camps. And
military camp. That was the other one.
Yeah, military camp.
It was a boot camp.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
So, it would for an old movie like that, I still really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. It was really fun to watch.
Kiddo thought it was hilarious.
Oh yeah, he was all in. Like he was just. I think that out of all the camp movies, I think that's his favorite one.
Well, and you know what? He laughed at the idea of like these kids are crazy. Like, don't they know they need food and they need this? How dare they all by themselves? And we look at him, we're like, are you kidding me? You would just be going. You'd have so much fun. You would do the exact same thing. And he's like, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Like every kid given the opportunity would just run wild at least for a little while until something terrible happened. Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
So
no, but at Camp Nowhere, it was on Disney Plus. I definitely say if you're in the mood for that family fare, it's a preteen movie. Yeah. Right. It's not,
Well, it is them dealing with, growing up and changing and making, friendships and figuring themselves out, and I think it was done in a really fun way. Yeah, there was a lot of humor, and it had some really good heart. And Loy's character was awesome.
It wasn't ridiculous humor or fart humor or anything like that either, which was really nice to have and refreshing, especially for kids' movies. Sometimes family movies, this came from a time where you still could have some drama in family movies. Yeah, right, and like acting almost. So I would check it out. I would watch it again probably in another summer or anything like that. Like it kind of hits that kickoff to summer vibe because it is all about being out and about. But it's also good I think for younger kids like preteen and all that, because it is that coming of age story and finding themselves, right?
Yeah, very much so.
But yeah, it's on Disney Plus. It's not part of the Star, I don't think, but check it out, Camp Nowhere. Totally worth it, I think. Yeah. Then we did watch a movie on the stupid hot day. Me and Kiddo. Okay, Kiddo wanted to play. Well, the one day we were in our basement area, and we had done this, we had done that, board game and this, and I had gotten to the point where my head was spinning, and I was just like, I need a break. I need to not think.
Because they're just stuck in a little box.
Yeah, like it's literally like a 10 by 10 room, right? Or maybe it's 12 by 15. But you're just in like this box, and you've got fans on you, and you can only play so many card games and read so much. And I was like, okay, let's get the computer. We'll throw on like Netflix or something. Well, we couldn't figure out what to watch, and then we couldn't get to you for the password. So then I ran upstairs, and I was like, we're going to watch this. So I dusted off an old DVD of Ernest Goes to Camp, because why? Oh, I don't know. It's a summer camp movie.
Fits perfectly.
Right? I was like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to get a theme going on. We're going to get that summer camp theme, even though, it's been 4 days since we watched a camp movie, and our brains are like literally leaking out of our ears. So Ernest Goes to Camp. Katie did not take part in this, so she doesn't have a say.
No, I don't. I've missed all.
That's not me not being insensitive to her inclusivity.
Thank you.
That is just she was at work.
Yeah, I was enjoying the air conditioning, so I'm not going to whine.
And every time I suggest to watch an Ernest movie,
I somehow miss out.
She goes, no, you guys, you just do that.
I've missed out on all of them. I'm out of town. I'm at work.
Yeah.
So it's their thing now.
It's that thing. It's that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why, but Ernest P. Worrell is funny.
I know you love it.
Like, it's just not all of it. Like, in later movies, I didn't really like. Like, I like Goes to Camp. I like Saves Christmas. I love Saves Christmas. Like, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
And I like some of Scared Stupid. It gets a little too stupid, but but like, you know, it's just I don't know. Maybe it's because my grandfather liked it.
Yeah, you have an emotional connection to it.
But so the Ernest Saves Camp. What I can say though is that it does have some cultural insensitivities in it, but at the same time, it is kind of going on a decent line of not, because it's never really making fun of Indigenous people. It's trying to respect them, but it shows a few like.
But it has the stereotypes.
The stereotypes, yeah. There's like, you know, and also the guy that played the chief wasn't.
So it's a product of his time.
Wasn't and the actually Indigenous, but he was from Italy, and he changed his name to play an Indigenous person in movies, and later on he was inducted by like a Indigenous Hall of Fame or something, or like weird. As an honorary Native, because he tried to get them in like a positive light. So it's like a weird like like he's, you know, not, but he wasn't trying to take advantage of it. He just was trying to get that representation help. I guess out, because it was never like super bad. But anyways, the whole purpose of the story is the idea Ernest is a handyman at the camp, and he always wants to be a camp counselor, but it's Ernest, so you know he can't be. They just think he's a goof. And the camp has to bring in these, it's a fresh start program. So they're at juvenile hall, and they're like, you know, the bad kids, right? And they need to get money, so they bring them in. All the while, there is the evil land baron that has found that there is like a special mineral that they use to make spaceship stuff under the camp. So he's trying to get to the camp, like own the camp. And the only person that can sign the deed over is the chief that owns the camp. Okay. But the camp is actually a sacred training ground for the Indigenous warriors that were there, right? Oh, wow. So he of course, you know, this land doesn't belong to anyone. And, you know, he's here as you know. So you basically go through the movie with Ernest ends up having to be the counselor for these kids, because these kids knock their other counselor into the water because he's a bit of a jerk, of course, right? Because no one's actually giving them the time of day or a chance. They're just like, the bad kids, like, they're horrible, we're not going to do anything with them. But then, of course, Ernest, the thing that there's a beauty about Ernest is he's just like, no, you guys all have something in you, and y'all can be great. And right, like the one guy just throws the kid in the water and he can't swim, and you know, Ernest saves him while everyone else just watched, right? Oh, wow. So then that kid like bonds with Ernest, and then they all slowly start bonding with him in some ways, to that the end they end up rallying all together to save the camp from the evil you know, Crater Company, it's called. Oh, nice. Right? Crater Mining, right? And
that doesn't say what they're going to do to the land. I don't know.
Right? So that was fun to watch with him, even though we were just watching it on the little like laptop screen. Yeah. Because he was laughing. Kiddo was laughing. He had a good time with it. The Kiddo's favorite part of the entire thing is that there was Ernest's cart in the movie. He drives up because he's going to go unclog a toilet, and he gets out, and the cart is like a half go-kart kind of thing, something like more a handyman would use on like a golf course or something like that. It just takes off, right? And throughout the entire movie, in the back of the scenes, you'll once in a while see this cart drive by, right? And then at one point, they end up being able to get the cart back, and they load it up with propane tanks and gas and all that, and they use it to blow up the bulldozer, right? And it blows up, and it stops the bulldozer. But in the final scene of the movie, where it's like the next year later, that cart's still driving around. And he was just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, Dad, but it's funny. That's what he liked.
Nice.
That's what he liked. The rest of them. Oh, and the snapping turtles. They use snapping turtles. They throw snapping turtles at them with little parachutes. He liked that. That was. But no, it was fun to watch. It was a good little, much needed break from the heat, and we watched that. And it was just like, I was glad that it turned out to be the experience that I remember too, because that is a full RADstalgia. Because that was one of those ones like when CBC used to just play movies like nonstop back in the day, like the early 90s. Mm-hmm. It was like summer hit, and it was summer movies. And it was just like, from like 5 till 1, they just played these movies, it seemed like. And, that's where you watch like the John Candy stuff, and like it was everything about summer. Like, so like Great Outdoors, Ernest Goes to Camp, Summer Rental, like that kind of stuff played. Yeah. It was like TBS used to do that too, right? Yeah. Or it was just like these movies, they go on these marathons, and you're just like, I don't want to do anything, and you want to watch it, and you're like, yeah. So that's where those memories of it come from, because of like you'd see that happening, but like, it's summertime, Ernest is fucking here. Like that's what it was as a kid.
He's really excited about this. It's kind of adorable.
Well, I just, those memories, right? And it's nice when you watch something and like, it's not the best still. Like it's an Ernest movie. So your expectations aren't at a 10. Your expectations are at like a 2. Yeah. And you can sit back and laugh because
some of it can go above the expectations.
And you're like, it's interesting, like watching that one, especially because that was the first Ernest movie.
Oh, okay.
And seeing just how good and pure, and like everyone just treats him like shit. But yet you look at that and you'd be like, we almost all could be a little bit more like Ernest. The idea that he's full of self-confidence, but yet he's not so full of self-confidence that he steps on anyone. Yeah. Maybe Vern later in the movies. He steps on Vern a lot. He trashes Vern's place, but we don't know who Vern is. We've never seen him, so I guess it doesn't matter. But he's nice to everyone, and he gives everyone the benefit of the doubt before, he goes against them. Yeah. He gives everyone a chance to prove that they're actually a good person. Yeah. And before he takes any retaliation. He's
not judging anyone ahead of time.
Yeah. And he's so optimistic. Yeah. And positive. Right. And, it was just interesting to see that and be like, no. I think that's one of the things that's kind of cool about being able to watch some of the older stuff with Kiddo too, is then seeing how movies and media has changed.
Oh, totally. Right. Especially like the kids, the family movies like that. They're so different than they are now. Yeah. For anything, right?
Right. So with that, then the next day it cooled down a bit. We had done a lot of stuff that, again, we had kind of gone through our and I was like, it's cool enough. We've only got 2 fans on us. Let's check out something else. And so we went on Disney Plus. This is a pretty big Disney Plus episode. So,
hopefully Disney, you have Disney Plus.
Right? Disney needs to give us a kickback. Maybe a free week, because because they're dying for money. But they we're looking for camp movies, and we came down to 2 camp movies, and we're like, okay, we have this one or this one. Which one do you think Mom's gonna like? Which one do you think will get Mom to watch to be able to round out this summer camp episode that we were working on? Yeah. And so he was like, that one looks like it'd be more like mom would enjoy it. Yeah. So me and him decided to watch Heavyweights. So that one there is another Disney one that has a lot of 90s Disney alumni in it almost. Oh, okay. Because like there was a lot of just Disney kids were in like the same thing over and over again. This one was from 1995. It was directed by Stephen Brill, and you might not know that name, or you will. Stephen Brill was the director and writer of The Mighty Ducks and The Mighty Ducks 2 and Mighty Ducks 3, and even now of The Game Changers. He works on that still. But the thing I didn't know about Heavyweights was that it was a co-written and produced by Judd Apatow of the 40-year version and Knocked Up and all those movies, right? And that was one of his I don't know if it was one of his first, but one of his older, before he was Judd Apatow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So Heavyweights actually stars Ben Stiller, too, which I don't remember that when I remember watching it, right?
No, yeah.
Because 95, I didn't know who, right? It wasn't, it's basically the idea that it's a fat camp, and it's called Camp Hope. And now Camp Hope is what it seemed like that they were sending the kid to a fat camp, but what it seemed more like was a place to be accepted and okay with yourself more than anything. That's how it was originally, like, when he gets there and everyone's like super nice and the camp counselor's like, yeah, I've worked here for like 18 years and, everything's cool and right. The owners are fantastic, and they all have candy and they're just like, you get to go karting. We go on the lake and we go on the blob thing and, it's just going to be a good time. It's just going to be a fun summer. Yeah. Right. And like everything's just awesome about it. And then the owners of the camp come in like, yeah, so we went bankrupt and we had to sell the place. And it was actually Ben Stiller's dad and mom that played these guys.
Oh, nice.
Characters, which was even funny, Jerry Stiller. And then the new owner comes in as Ben Stiller and he's this fitness guru. And he's just like, we're going to get fit. And you're, it's his stereotypical like douche rag.
Yeah.
Like kind of
dodgeball-ish.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And but he's like got the camera on him. He's super nice. He's super happy. He's like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. Right. And then when the cameras go off, he's just a real dick.
Oh,
he's mean and like, picks on them and all this kind of stuff. So, they're actually at more of a fitness camp feel and they're having to like deal with all this stuff, but it's like, they're not learning anything. They're just being like belittled and like, not given food and like running in the rain and like stomped on when they do push-ups and like told that they're useless
health
and,
or anything.
Yeah, right.
It's just
So they end up having to fight back. So they fight back. They take the camp back.
Oh, okay.
Kind of feel right. And it was a surprisingly like it's another one where like I've seen it. I don't remember it fully enough.
Yeah.
But there was a few moments that were a little like crude. But it was actually a pretty good movie because by the end of it, they band together. The one dude that had been there for 18 years ends up becoming like the camp director, right? And he realizes that maybe they do need to take care of themselves, their health, but they need to be happy with themselves. But
not doing it out of fear and pain is more love.
Hate, not hating yourself, but like, hey, you know what? Because they once they get rid of Stiller's character, they have like this big like bonfire, and they eat everything. Like they coat themselves in like marshmallow and chocolate and like
just
pizza and just like, and then they wake up and they're just in a stupor. And he's just like, no, I am disappointed in every one of you. Like this is disgusting. Like, and but then they band together and they end up winning this and this was more of the insensitivity because the sign of its time, right? Apache race, right? And they all dressed up as it would have been the stereotypical native, right? But yeah, it was enjoyable. Like, and Kiddo laughed a lot. He thought it was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah,
I remember him just saying it was fun, right? Yeah. I think he was at the boat too, where it had been so long since we actually watched TV that he was just excited to watch TV again.
Anything will do right now.
But yeah, so it was interesting to watch that and see, and because I was wondering where it was going to go because I didn't remember the outcome, and like because I was like, well, it's like. The description is like the fat kids take back the camp from a hostile fitness instructor, and you're like, okay, well, What
could go a lot of ways.
What is this teaching? How is this going to teach them? And it was nice that they actually had some good teachable moments in it, right?
Well, it's good that it came around. It wasn't just like, we're just going to avoid fitness whatsoever, and we're just going to gorge and eat whatever we want. That there is a happy medium between those two extremes.
Oh, totally.
Right? And so that's a really cool message.
And there's a couple of the kids that are actually in the Mighty Ducks movies are in this. So Kenan Thompson's in it. So
nice.
So there's a little bit of a tie.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was Heavyweights. Another one Katie didn't get to take part in, right?
But
what did you get to take?
I get to take
what did we choose for summer camp?
And you know what?
Right up your alley.
For me, it was just like it was the same thing. I get to watch TV. I'm so excited.
You're just happy to be here.
Yes. It was like a huge night for that.
It was so cold when we watched that movie. After how
oh yeah,
it had gone, like the wind had ripped through there. We had all the windows open.
Yeah, it was so nice,
and
right?
It was just like, wow.
Yeah. So they chose Bushwhacked for us to watch. And
this was also on Disney Plus.
And then when he says this, I'm like, oh my god, what the hell are we watching, right? But we're just gonna roll with it and see what happens. So it was
1995.
There we go again. I don't know, what's the actor's name?
That was Daniel Stern.
Daniel Stern. Okay, so he's
of Home Alone.
Home Alone. He basically just looks exactly like the guy from Home Alone, but he's...
Okay, well, fun fact: it was originally pitched as a Home Alone spin-off.
Yeah,
where Marv was out of prison and was going to.
Because the description, the summary there says that these kids get mixed up with an ex-con in the woods. These Boy Scouts basically. And I'm like, okay, so ex-con. And it starts out with him and he's just so happy and he's a delivery driver. And I'm like, well, so far he's not. I thought maybe he was just out of prison.
Right.
Like that's what I thought. Because it was excellent, a con on the run or something, and
that's the
and so I was expecting like this full criminal, right? And so he essentially had just he had set up a deal that was extra kickback bonus for his delivery.
A really large tip.
It was just a big large tip. He wasn't actually knowingly trafficking goods.
Yeah.
But he was just always the delivery guy for this guy who was actually shipping giant boxes of money, and he was the criminal.
Yeah.
But so he got mixed up in this, and he, the last, it starts out with him trying to go and do this one delivery, and no one's home, and he goes inside and he finds his whole office on fire, and the FBI agents show up, and it's like they were trying to sting and blame him for killing this rich guy that lives there. So he goes on the run because he's like, oh my god, I didn't do this, and I'm trying to solve the mystery, and I'm going to get to this next delivery point that's supposed to be on there. So he's gone a little crazy because he thinks he's being framed for murder. And so that's the issue, is he's not a bad guy. He was just desperate to try to clear his name, and then he starts making decisions that are, poor, of course.
Now, what you're wondering at this moment in the podcast, you're like,
how is this camp related?
Right?
Yes. So in the meantime, this story is happening. Well, then you're also being introduced to this small Boy Scout troop, basically, that is their the one kid's mom is the leader, and she is not doing it, leading them in the way they really want. They want to have more outdoorsy and some more scout type things, and not so much of...
They're making pudding.
Yeah, they're cooking, and they're being, in their minds, a little too girly about things, right? So she sets up this overnight camp trip, basically, and she hires this scout, finds this really outdoorsy to the max scout leader to take them on this trip. And so they're both heading. So the scout leader is heading out there in his Humvee to meet them, and at the same time we have the criminal
Spider.
Yeah, Spider is the scout leader. What is the guy's character's name? Now we can't remember what, because Good Lord. So ex-con, well,
Max.
There we go. He's
Grabowski.
There we go. He's on the run.
Mad Max Grabowski.
Yeah. So he's on the run, and they cross paths. And because he stops to get directions and he parks in the handicap.
Yeah.
And Spider, the scout guy, okay, I love that he does this though. He glues a sticker on the window that says, "I am an inconsiderate person."
Yeah.
Because Max parks in the handicap. And I thought that was priceless because I think that more people should have that glued on their windows. And so by doing so though, he's like, you know, because he gets caught, that's who they're looking for. So he swaps places and he tells Spider to tell everyone that, you know, you're taking my car, you're gonna pretend you're me, and you're gonna throw everyone off my tail, right? So he takes the Humvee. Well, then he ends up being mistaken as the scout leader that's supposed to take these kids, and so now it becomes not a camp movie, but now he is in charge of like 5 or 6 kids on a overnight scouting camp trip, basically.
So there's camping
and it's
there's summer camping.
Yeah,
that's how it's a camp movie.
Yeah. It's still a group of kids, and you know, a wayward adult. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
So he's taking them on this massive hike, and they have to survive. He's running from what he finds out now is the FBI is after him, and now Spider has also been recruited to track them and work with the FBI to find him. And he makes some questionable choices with these kids and their safety to get them going along, because he's got this whole ruse going.
I love when he starts breaking down the bridge.
Oh yeah, that was intense.
Hacking it down.
So there's this tiny little like rope, you know, single plank bridge that they find in this sort of giant cavern, and he's trying to get them across, and they're all freaked out. And yeah, the one is stuck on the middle of this bridge, and he starts cutting it down and basically tell him like, you better run or you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And like it's uncomfortably close to when that kid finally gets across. But through all of this, he ends up really teaching them some really valuable lessons, and like
how to play dead when you're attacked by a bear.
That was amazing. You play dead. I did. He passed out, and it was hilarious. I'm alive. And so then, you know, they do eventually figure out who he is, because they make a makeshift radio and they pick this up and they realize, and they check his ID. So, you know, they kind of are battling against each other, but they realize that he's actually telling the truth. He's not trying to hurt them at all. And they really end up working together, and he ends up really bonding and saving them and helping them, because then they end up, the bad guys are after them, and now they're trying to kill them. Yeah. And so they work together to make sure they're surviving and solve the mystery, catch the bad guys, all that sort of stuff. And then he turns into really caring about them and you know, risking his own life to save them. And it was so heartwarming at the end. Yeah. Because
so the kids ended up going through like training, a couple weeks worth of training, to get kind of in shape and to get kind of like to do the climbing and the hiking and all that. And Daniel Stern was given the option to do it, and he opted out of it because he wanted to seem winded.
Well, because his character would have been super out of shape for sure. So
he wanted to make sure he was winded.
So it was legitimate, like, I'm dying.
Yeah. So the thing that was interesting with this is a 20th Century Fox film. And this was the first film out of a multi-picture deal with Daniel Stern's company. This movie bombed.
Oh, okay.
All the deal was cut after this.
Oh, wow.
They were just like, this movie, they didn't even give him like any other chance. It was like, this bombed. You're out. Right. So
like it no different than the other camp movies. Like they're not make or break anything, but I had a lot of fun with the heart of it. Yeah. You know, kind of, there was that suspense of what's going to happen.
This is probably the edgiest out of all the ones that we watched, because there is a dolly sex scene.
Because they bring on a Playboy that they had brought with them.
What are the birds and the bees?
And so that's what he's going to ask them.
Can I see your dollies?
Because there was a girl that the mom had let in the troop, and so she had brought some Barbies along on the trip, and so he starts, providing some explicit instructions on birds and the bees to them, and it was uncomfortable to think about what he was doing. And then the man has a cigarette.
And goes to sleep.
I was like, oh my goodness.
That was funny. But yeah, no, yeah, I still enjoy it. Kiddo laughed, I think, the most on this one, honestly. Which I thought was surprising.
You know what I really like? That the spider character, the scout leader there, because he looked like he was going to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Because he looks like an ex-military, like he looks like a boot camp director, right? But he, you know, he was definitely stood up to Max when he first met him and everything. Yeah. And then when he did find him at the end, it was like, basically, you're in deep shit because you still stole these kids, essentially, right? But he quickly came around to respect because he realized that, you know, you did do everything to keep them safe. Yeah. And you did a hell of a job and you still have earned my respect now. Yeah. And he was a really good guy. Yeah. And that was really nice. He wasn't a hardhead. Like, he would have been a really good scout leader.
Well, it was nice too that he didn't end up getting bamboozled into the FBI's lies. Yes. And he was still, you know, but it was crazy the fact that he just came out of the trees out of nowhere. Yeah. Just like all of a sudden he just like dropped from like a spider.
Like a spider. There you go. So yeah, it was nice and heartwarming, and it was, again, it could have been absolute shit, but it was a movie that I had, you know, a new movie, and in the reprieve, it was a return to normalcy, and so it was just the best thing ever.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, I remember, like, 90s movies. There's a lot of 90s movies that were potentially forgettable, but at the same time enjoyable to watch at the time. Yeah. Right. And like, that's something where I do feel that we're missing in media, where like maybe it isn't something that you'll remember or something that you want to own or something you'll watch again, but like something that you just kind of laugh at and forget about your life for a moment. There's a lot more deep, like, it's either deep thinking or action fluff. Yeah. Right? It's either Marvel or... Right? Or dramatic, I feel like I hate myself. Yeah. Right? So that's one thing that I commend the 90s. And even the 80s, they had a lot of those too. Yeah. Right? Like, it was just fun cinema. Yeah. Right? So, out of everything in the camp foyer, what was your favorite? Seeing as you had so many to choose from.
Out of the two, honestly, I would say that I can see me watching Camp Nowhere more. Yeah. Because it had a little less goofy, and you know,
it was more real.
Yeah, a little. You know, there was so much ridiculous. I mean, like the ending, like, you know, the kid was gonna die and he saves him at the end. I was laughing because it was so unbelievably fake.
The physics in that
the physics weren't making sense. There was a couple times in there where it's like, there's no way that that's even possible, and so my head was having a hard time just letting that go. It was fine. But between the two of them, I would say Camp Nowhere just felt like it could really have happened. Yeah. More than anything, and so I would choose that one. What about you? Out of all four of them, you have a bigger choice.
Ernest.
I was gonna say it's got to be Ernest, right?
Because I laugh at that every time. No, Camp Nowhere was probably my favorite out of the four that we watched for sure, because it has the most heart, and you know, it had Christopher Lloyd, and getting to watch him is
that was like a huge
just because I loved seeing him be able to play so many different characters.
I love his introduction and the trailer and everything. Like, from the moment he's on screen, you're just like, you're just such a good actor. Yeah. So there you go, Camp Nowhere. That is the camp movie choice.
Yeah, from this batch of camp movies. So that was camp. So. And you would think usually right now we'd be like lulling you, be like, hey, thanks for joining us. But guess what?
There's more.
That's right, because this is a supersized episode. This one is so big, you are going to feel like you just did something you shouldn't have.
I was waiting to see where this was going to go.
A bag of chips, a burger, a ton of fries, a 6-pack of beer. We're going to stuff you with so much useless pop culture, amazing reviews. You're going to be screaming in your sheets.
Wow.
That's what's happening.
My head is just all over the place with that.
It should be, as you should be.
So
there are things that you don't even know that are happening right now. But what you do need to know is,
I think he missed you guys.
On this whole journey we're on right now, this whole amazing, marvelous journey into everything we've done. Mm-hmm. You know, we're gonna take an interlude. We're gonna treat this like part 2 of the episode. Mm. Hello there. You know what we are seeing on the interwebs and all that is the King Shark figure that McFarlane's bringing out.
I didn't know what he was going with.
So King Shark,
the big freaking Shark Man figure, that one.
So there's going to be 2 ways you can get this figure from McFarlane. One way is buying all the Suicide Squad figures. Mm. So you get the squad and you get King Shark. Or if you're lucky enough to have a Target.
We're looking at you, America. And only you.
You can get the gold label King Shark, which is not a Build-A-Figure. That is a bloody variant. Oh, wow. He's got blood on his jowls, and he comes with an arm and a leg to chew on.
Which is like the best thing ever.
Right?
I want appendages.
Right?
Like...
So... I'm looking at this figure. It is massive. It is bigger than the Merciless. It is bigger than the Bane.
Than the Merciless?
Yeah.
I guess so I saw
it's
Bane.
A mega figure.
I forget how big the Bane actually is.
Yeah. So what is interesting though is it's not as big as, say, their Violator that's coming out, right?
I think it's just massive.
But I'm just saying, like that's where these things are getting scaled though. Like,
yeah.
We saw a picture of it beside one of the 7-inch Batman figures, and it's a good couple inches. It's probably at least a 9-inch figure. Mm-hmm. And so it just looks really cool. But that's your toy talk. That's the only toy talk. Yeah. You know what? No, I got more toy talk for you.
I didn't get a toy, but
I got more toy talk for you. Super 7 is doing Mighty Morphin Power Ranger figures.
And Mike's head's exploding with joy.
I am teetering on the fence on buying them or not because I do have my Legacy figures. But every time I come down to the flex room here and I see that most of my Power Rangers are laying down.
He sends me a message and says, Katie, I need them all.
I'm thinking I might need to go into these because I do enjoy Super 7's product and I do enjoy the idea of it. I don't need the hyper articulation as I think I do. I realize that sometimes hyper articulation isn't the best route to go. And I'm looking at you, Lightning Collection, because you're all laying down. And the Goldar is gummy as fuck.
Yeah. From the very beginning.
He's just a jiggly, wiggly little worm. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at those and I'm thinking I might need to get into the Super 7 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The first wave that they dropped right off the bat, they are giving you Goldar. Like, how cool is that to get Goldar?
He looks really awesome.
Then you're going to get a Putty Patroller. And the Putty Patroller is coming with so many accessories. Just makes it, like, amazingly cool. Then they're going to bring, of course, Tommy. Tommy's going to come in his Green Ranger form. And he's got dual heads, good unmasked, evil unmasked, and a shit ton of accessories.
I love how he has the 2 different gold.
Yeah. So you can take off the shield and he can just be a Green Ranger, right?
Like there's so many different options right there. Right? It's amazing.
And then you're going to get the Yellow Ranger in the first wave, which I think is really cool because some companies that are having to run Power Rangers in the past or currently don't really like to bring out female figures.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that the female figure is right off the bat and it comes with Trini and Shia's head. Mm-hmm. So you're getting both Rangers. And I had seen a video that stated that if 2 people donned the costume, you will get both heads in one package so you won't have to buy multiple bodies to get the alternate head depending on who is your Ranger.
I think that's so amazing.
Like that makes it worth it right there to have all that. And they've got all the weapons. They even have weapons that are based off of the toys, like the action figures. And they got some deep cuts when it comes to accessories.
Yeah.
Trini comes with Tickle Sneezer. Look that up. Tickle Sneezer. If you're not a Power Ranger fan and you're like, what the fuck is Tickle Sneezer? Yep. That sounds like a good time in bed. It's not. It's creepy. Look up Tickle Sneezer.
Yeah, he showed me. I was welcome. Like, dude, I can't remember what this is.
Right? But yeah, so that's something that is really exciting to see. And they also bring out the Zord. The the Tyrannosaurus Rex red Zord. That I'm not sold on.
Yeah.
If it was a Megazord, if it was a Dino Megazord, I would have been just like throwing money at the screen, screaming, because that's what I want. I want a articulated 7-inch, 8-inch, whatever it's going to be, scaled action figure like that. I don't need it to transform. I don't need it to combine. I want it to be able to punch things like the 8-inch Goldar. I want to have that battle. That's what I want. I want to be able to take those two to the river and have them fighting.
Yeah.
That's what I want to have. And that's always been the dream.
Oh, that would be perfect. Some of the rock spots at the river would be
the quarry
it would
shots.
Look just like the quarry in that's
so they need to awesome. Bring out so they said that the Power Ranger waves are always going to be 5 figures, a Zord, too good, too bad, and they said there's 200 something episodes, so be prepared for lots of bad guys.
Nice.
So
it's not just going to be the original
core team,
and that's it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because they'll get through that core team really fast.
Yeah.
Now they did say that possibly they could be going the same route as their Turtles.
Oh, really?
So they might bring out some of the more wacky Ranger variants that have happened in the past, or they might do other versions like Civilian.
Oh, okay.
Or Ninjetti.
Yeah.
So far, their license only.
Well, some of their outfits were pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I loved their outfits.
So far, they're basically saying though that it's limited to the Mighty Morphin. It doesn't extend to the others. So
yeah.
So.
But like you could have all their civilian clothes there. I loved how they were always color coordinated. I mean, that was the best part.
Mm-hmm.
But some of their gym type outfits and they did all their karate and everything like that. It was sweet.
Right.
So
there's toy news. I did actually get something. I have actually. There's more toy news. So see, this is like a little like, whew, we had a lot of movies. We got to like work it down.
What did you get?
The Foot Soldier, the Super 7 Foot Soldier showed up. I haven't been able to take a picture of it yet, but finally got the Foot Soldier from the Super 7 Wave 1 TMNT Ultimates. And it's beautiful. It's stunning. It's marvelous. I need 36 of them. And I'm so happy. I'm excited to have that added to that collection because that Turtles line is beyond amazing. And any moment that I start thinking that I need to like cancel any of my pre-orders, I get one of them again and I start playing with them again. And I'm like, no, this thing is freaking cool and I want them all. So, but yeah, it's
Super 7. We're just gonna sell you our souls now.
Yeah. I'll literally I'll open my veins and you guys just go to town on it. I will be that sacrifice. So, but yeah, totally amazing.
Well, there you go. We did have toy news.
Yeah, right. Felt good, didn't it?
Yeah, it was good.
Within the heat wave too, though, I was able to read more Spawn.
Yeah. Well, what did you think of that? You were reading stuff online, right?
I was reading stuff online. I want to try to get past because I only have a certain spot. I'm almost at 200. There was a bit of an area that was a little rough because I didn't like the art. It was a little bit too hyper realistic, like Dylan-esque art, and I wasn't digging it. So, but I'm past that section, so I finding its groove again, and I'm making my way. I'm gonna get there. So by the time we get down to Toy Traders and be able to actually get Spawn Universe, I'll be like more set and ready. So.
I have my Sailor Moon Volume 10, so I have the whole collection now my shelf. I've been reading that. So I just finished another book today, actually. So I'm moving right along. My next book is when Black Lady shows up.
Your favorite arc?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
That is exciting.
So, yeah, I'm very, very excited for this. So that's my excitement right there.
So the first half of the episode was brought to you by lovely, lovely iced coffee.
Yeah.
That's what got us through that.
It was really, really good, actually.
Caffeinated joy.
It was really like a hardcore latte. Like it was like original coffee that I used to drink when it was like coffee flavored milk. But it was so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So part 2 of the episode is brought to you by lovely, lovely Bubbly.
Bubbly. It's our new thing.
Flavored sparkling water. That's right. Bubbly. It's bubbly in my face hole. So we can be bubbly in your ear hole.
This is blackberry. You know what?
And no, this is not an ad. I wish we were getting paid to say that, but no, it's just cold and refreshing down our gullets.
Well, and you know, it's stupid, but one of my favorite things about this is the tab on each one of the flavors says something different. Like this says ciao.
One says aloha.
Yeah, the pineapple one says aloha. Ooh. One of them says ha ha. One of them says adios, I think too. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. So it's just like stupid little fun things.
They're just trying to be happy.
Yeah,
they're trying to be happy.
So yeah, got bubbly happy water. It's wearing a bow tie.
Yeah,
it's adorable.
So Loki. Yes, there's been some Loki stuff going on, huh?
Yes.
I don't even remember the prior episode. Well, yeah, that one died.
That one died.
That one was like fast, like. Well, it was a romantic episode.
It was the apocalypse, and they ended with it like they were gonna just die there, and and they started making. So then we actually had them almost making a connection and dealing with the fact that there was no way out of there. They were just going to die, and so then in the meantime the timekeepers, the minions there, were trying to find them somewhere to try to bring them back, right? And it was the race of if they could get them to them before the apocalypse actually happened or not, right? Yeah. So, and then you also have weird, shady things start happening. You can tell that they're kind of questioning a little bit. The TVA, the boss lady there is, the one agent that got compromised. She's basically saying, well, she just went crazy and she died. And, she's real cagey about it, and you can start feeling there's something weird going on, and she's hiding something. And it was like you totally felt like she killed her, because she was compromised and she knew something. And
she's just trying to hide everything from her mistake. It feels like,
because then you find out that she is actually the one that got the original Sylvie. When she was young, brought her in over to the into the office there and had escaped. So she feels like, it's totally her trying to make up for her mistakes from the past. And things went south quite quickly in this last episode. It was a lot actually happened.
I cannot believe that you got to find out that the timekeepers at the moment were just androids.
Yep.
That was a pretty big pulling thing. The strings.
Right.
B, Loki gets pruned.
And then Mobius gets pruned as well.
Yeah. And Mobius gets pruned before Loki.
Yeah, like that was like, holy crap, they just killed him? What? There was a lot happening. And then you actually have them, the other guard lady that had realized that, okay, something is wrong. She had taken Sylvie into the past, and she finds out that she also, that Sylvie's telling the truth, that she had a life, and she gets pruned as well.
I thought she just got knocked out.
I thought she was pruned.
Maybe, but I thought
I don't know if she's not now. I mean, she's gonna be.
Yeah.
She's on a warpath. The lady seems like she's on a warpath for things.
And then what did you think of that little mid-end credit scene?
That was just an end credit scene, not a mid-end credit scene.
Well, but the last, there was on Wanda, there was like at the very end, there was like the mid and then the end. So this is
that was okay. Well, first off, thank goodness that Loki's still alive, because oh my goodness, like,
but like but then does pruning actually like.
Is it permanent or is it a Loki thing, right? Where they were, right? Because I thought it was cool because you had someone talking and saying that, we got to come with us basically and we'll help you out. And I'm like, wait, okay, do we get to see who he's talking to or not? Yeah. And it was 3 other Lokis.
Yeah.
And all different versions of them. Like
4 other Lokis.
Okay, is the alligator a Loki?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. He had a crown. He was a Loki.
But I wasn't sure if he was a pet.
Alligator Loki.
There was an alligator Loki. All I recognized was classic looking Loki, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was just extraordinary. I was just so excited about that. And so then you have this like, it looked like an apocalypse world, most likely.
That's and you can see Avengers Tower in the background.
Yeah. So here you have this group of Lokis, and like, is it because, they talked about the idea of, with the concept of what the timekeepers are trying to do, right? They're trying to have this perfect order for something, right? And it's no different than any sort of nature. I'm gonna bring it back to Jurassic Park here. The idea of nature trying to break free, and chaos is the nature of creation. Everything happens. So, when you try to control it and you try to keep it one path, it's constantly trying to break free, which is what they're always fighting against, something, a branch off here. So in all reality, though, that back and forth, in order to have order, you also have to have chaos. Well, I think the more they push and try to have the sacred timeline, I think the more and more there's going to have more Lokis, right?
The tighter the grip, the more slips through your fingers.
Right. And you're going to have all of these issues, and these Lokis are just they're becoming more and more pure chaos, right? And so I kind of like that philosophical feel. That's my feeling behind it. It seems like so I'm super excited to find out where this is going now, because there's 2 episodes left, and so much has actually happened. When are we gonna find out more about the TVA, or we're gonna find out who is pulling the strings, and what do these branches really mean? Because you believe they're more of like multiverses, not a timeline necessarily, right? Which makes more sense. And what happens with all these with all these different people? Where is the TVA housed? Those types of things, all these people, and what's going on with all the Lokis, and just there's so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. It's going to be a great ride to find out where to go, because that show has been fantastic. Yeah. It's been a great ride, to say the least. So I am excited. So should we just do it now? Should we just get going?
I think. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna throw it in now, because the one thing I got this, if we did get a few like outdoorsy things. We were like excited to go to Walmart in the evening. We got like a football and a soccer ball, trying to kind of get out a little bit and get some other activity, which is super fun, because Mike's like surprisingly really good at all of these different sports.
I'm good at everything, baby.
He is, I know. And then we, he's been wanting to we like board games, and he thought it would be fun to try to add Monopoly to our family.
Well, I thought on a responsible note of teaching money management. Yes. In a sense of counting and... So he is a tool, right? So Monopoly has a contentious history between the two of us. It is evil. We had Monopoly years ago, and we got rid of it because of... It is evil. Mike's a sore loser. And... I have bad rolls. Dad, Dad, I called him Dad. That's hilarious. I was talking to Kiddo about it earlier. That's why. Luck-wise was... there's only so much skill with this game. Most of it is luck. Yeah. To be honest. And so we started playing that yesterday. He didn't believe us that it could be a really long game. Yeah. Right. And there was different rules in it that are different from when we were younger, about like if you land on a spot, you either have to pay for it or it goes to auction. So every roll, like someone doesn't have to buy it, but they at least have the option to do it. So you can buy property pretty quickly, because you can take advantage of someone else not buying that property and then put a bid on it. And so some of these properties ended up pretty quickly, and we ended up so Mike played for a while until he tapped out, and then Kiddo ended up owning 3/4 of the board. I had the green properties and Boardwalk and Park Place, and I had the utilities. And so, Kiddo had everything else, and then it was just a battle of back and forth between things. We played for, 2.5 hours yesterday, and another probably 2.5 hours today. Almost 3. Because we ended up... I ended up yesterday, I made dinner. Yeah. I was waiting, and then I just started playing the purge sound. So we took a picture of the board, we packaged everything up, and we put it away, and then we pulled it all out this morning, set it all back up to how we had it. And for a while, I was pretty low on money. Like, I had a number of houses on different things, but I was getting pretty low on money, and Kiddo was getting pretty flush with things. And because yesterday you and me both were hitting jail a lot, and I kept losing out on paydays, and like all this string of bad luck this morning too. And then all of a sudden the tide turned, and I kept paying Kiddo a lot of money because he had a lot of houses,
but I had enough to start building property on mine, and those rent just skyrocketed. And it got to the point that I have never won so well at Monopoly. I had a full Monopoly. By the end of it, I owned every single property because he had to pay. I was making deals. I even made deals and I had him pay less rent because like some of those properties would go up to $900. And there's just this ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
And I have never owned a hotel on Boardwalk, and I managed to do that. I was so proud. I didn't even have to. And I was like, I'm just so proud of myself that I could do that. So I ended the board. I had every single property. I had $3,700 and I had $5,000 worth of property of buildings.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that it turned out so well. And I had so much luck that was involved, right, for it. So that was interesting because he did a really good job I told him, I was like, I'm not laughing at you because I totally feel your pain and I understand this sucks. But he was so like amusingly depressed. He was like on the floor, like, here you go. Just take it all. Like every time he would land on a property, what street do you want to know of my property now?
See, that's where it gets like, and hardcore.
Right. And I felt so bad. But he wasn't like upset or angry about it. So he did a really good job. And I'm really proud of him for that because he took it really well. And it was just like, I can't believe this is happening. Like that's how he was. Right. But it was good for him to learn about counting of the money and then how quickly things can actually disappear for money wise too, right? So that was kind of something that happened this weekend here. It turned out quite an experience. He's like, I can't believe it actually is that long of a game. You guys weren't lying.
We got home late the one night and he was like, let's play Monopoly. I'm like, no, we can't play Monopoly. Yeah. You gotta go to bed. I want to have adult time. Like
he's like, no, we can do it. And then the next day he's
done like half an hour.
I see what you mean. This is not a short game. You guys
played for like 6 hours, but I think your time we were done.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. I think there's a few changes we'll make next time we play that might help with some extra, kind of good luck fortunes, hopefully.
Yeah.
But try a few different things. But it was fun. I think I know it was a little bit of a frustration, but it turned out really well, and I think he had fun, and I think he'd play it again, which is a good thing. So that was the end of the new things weekend. There you go.
New things. Yeah, she owned Monopoly, just like America.
Right. It was my capitalistic moment for the weekend.
America.
Baseball though.
Oh, we're going to baseball? I thought that was a segue to America.
You want to do America?
Well, that made sense.
Okay, America it is. Baseball and America are all together, but sure.
America.
I wish you could see him.
You should make sure. I wish we could put little eagle sounds after each one. Yeah, ready for it? Okay, get ready. America. So
they mock me all the time, by the way. Okay, we have a lot of bald eagles in our area. We had none in Nevada.
America.
And yes, I am truly fascinated by this bird. I think in general, birds of prey are very fascinating, but they're just they're so big. They're so pretty. And I, as American was grown up, they are like the most majestic bird, right? And they laugh at me all the time because I point them out. Now it's gotten to the point though where I will make sure I point them out.
It's like the squirrel moment. We'll be having a conversation, but bald eagle. You're driving down the road, bald eagle.
I will stop everything and point them out. But it was really, really cool. One thing, actually, speaking of, last weekend, though, because there was one flying around by the beach, and one flew down relatively close to us.
Yeah, it was only like 50 feet away. And
grabbed a fish out of the lake. And that was like the coolest moment ever.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome.
Like, nature.
Yeah, right?
Right? But yeah, so it's very much
bald
a joke of how much I love bald eagles. So yeah. Just
America. So with that, the 4th of July was coming up. We're a dual home of celebratory bliss when it comes to all that stuff. And what we decided to do to make sure that we paid tribute to Katie's roots as an American is we found a nice little movie that was the true history of America on Netflix. This is certifiably probably the most documented, historically accurate film about the creation of America.
I feel so
to
enlightened.
Date.
Yeah.
I can't believe the depth that it went through to show America, how real everything was. And it is something I think that should be taught in the schools because, it truly speaks to you the hardships and whatnot that they went through to build that country.
Yeah.
So Netflix dropped America, the motion picture. It stars Channing Tatum and as well as
it is done in an animated media.
Jason Mantzoukas. Channing Tatum stars as George Washington, and it's the guy that plays Jay on Big Mouth.
Will Forte is Abraham Lincoln.
Samuel Adams. Will Forte is
Samuel Adams. Huh?
Is Abraham Lincoln in any production done by Miller and Lord?
Really?
Clone High. Miller and Lord. Abraham Lincoln.
He was in Clone High?
He was Abraham Lincoln. Yeah. Yeah.
Mind blown.
Lego Movie.
He was.
Will Forte was Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, and I did not know he was Clone High.
They produced this one, and he was Abraham Lincoln.
How could you not expect a completely historical accurate film from people who did Clone High? I mean, they know their history.
Right. It also was from director Matt Thompson, who, is he does a lot of stuff for Archer and C Lab.
Totally, again, very real.
And it was also written by what's his name, Dave Callum. He worked on Mortal Kombat and Zombieland and Wonder Woman 84 and Godzilla.
Oh, look at that!
All these historically accurate films, and soon to bring out the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Who was Martha?
Martha was Judy Greer.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, okay.
Bobby Monahan played Paul Revere. Olivia Munn was Thomas Edison. And Simon Pegg played King James.
You did hear that right, by the way.
And Andy Samberg was Benedict Arnold.
Yeah.
And
Simon Pegg did an amazing job as King James.
If you also know your voice actors, Carlos Alzer, I don't know how to say his name.
Let me see. Nope.
He plays Clyde. He's also Rocco.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also the Taco Bell Chihuahua. And he's also from Reno 911.
That's where Garcia. I'm from, yeah.
So, there is a lot of serious actors.
Super.
In this film. Mm-hmm. One of which fucks pillows. And
probably does it in this film, too.
You have to realize that it is 100% truthful, and I will not believe any history book after watching this film.
Yeah, no, it is the only way.
I do not believe that America, because George Washington had chainsaw arms.
Yeah, that ran on gasoline.
That ran on gas.
Which I just now realized that. Oh my God.
I mean, and Benedict Arnold was a werewolf. So...
Right. Don't forget, King James had a little robot floating platform.
Right? See?
Yeah.
You know what? It's all truth. It's all truth.
Samuel Adams was a frat boy.
And America was saved by beer.
Paul Revere ended up being sewed to his horse and became RoboCop, basically.
I have people friends.
And yes, most importantly, it was saved by baseball and beer. Yeah. Because down with the tea.
Yeah.
Down with tea. This movie was fucking hilarious. I absolutely insane and hysterical, and I highly recommend it.
You have to be able to laugh at America.
Yes.
You have to be able to laugh at a lot of things.
Yes.
If you take it too seriously, you will be very angry.
It did a great job of pointing out very, very important issues that, some of them we have addressed, say with natives, and women in general too, and just the concept of the revolution itself and what was going on at the time. And it does a perfect job for what comedy is supposed to do and point out those things that are ridiculous. Not saying that, say, the revolution was bad. It doesn't have anything like that. But those holes in the story that not everyone was treated fairly, mm-hmm. and and it makes extremists. The Britons are all evil and they're monsters, right? So it does take that aspect too, where it's over the top and it's ridiculous, but there's actually some really good messages in there. About things.
It makes you think. It makes you think about things,
right? And it's absolutely ridiculous, as I say. I mean, it's saved by beer, because they're using tea to
brainwash people.
There's robotics in it, right? And a werewolf, that alone.
There's a Megazord. Right? Like there is blood, sex, and swearing. And it is R-rated.
There's sex. Yeah, it's complete. It starts out with Abraham Lincoln and George Washington are buddies, right?
Yeah.
And Abraham Lincoln is trying to free the colonies, and then he dies. Yeah. So that's where it starts, and you're kind of starting watching this and you're like, what the hell is happening here? So it was a ridiculous ride, and it was so perfect for it was needed. It was happy America, but just you need to laugh at the ridiculousness mm-hmm. of it at the same time.
It's like we needed to make an animated movie and put our message somewhere within it.
Oh, so one of the things that is hilarious, so they're trying to find where Benedict Arnold is, because he has a hostage, and they're trying to find the Gettysburg address to find out where
is the Gettysburg address.
And it's so funny because every time they say it, you're like, it should be address, and then you realize it's such a different feeling when you say address versus address. Like just there, right there is just a stupid commentary on English.
Yeah.
And so Washington decides that it was some cipher, that America, with the name that Abraham gave, was a cipher that needed to be figured out. And all he figured was A = 1.
A's the first letter of the alphabet.
A's the first letter of the alphabet. All of this, there's like this montage of cipher work, and he figures that out, and he decides that the address is 1 America.
Yeah.
And that was the secret, and that, lo and behold, the Gettysburg address is 1 America.
Yep.
And it's so stupid and just so funny.
Right.
I can't say enough good things about this.
Oh yeah, I laughed my ass off.
Like I am looking forward for it to becoming a 4th of July tradition.
Staple. Because it was so dumb and so funny, and you see this when it opens up and he's got chainsaw blades for arms and he's cutting through the redcoats, and Benedict Arnold jumps into a carriage. And it's a transporter.
Where shall I transport you?
Yeah, transporter, transport me. And there's just stuff like that. And then the fact that Benedict Arnold was a werewolf and like...
Yeah.
There's so many jokes and it comes out so fast and like...
Well, because George Washington is not the smartest man.
No.
By any means. He's got a good heart, but he's not... He needs a team to help lead him. And you know what? There you go. Right there. Behind every successful man is a woman guiding the way, because Martha definitely made sure he was in the right direction and pointed. And, you know, I think it's funny because they show a lot of the positive ideals and the stuff that actually was good out of it. But then also making fun of the point that, you know, I think the muddied part of history is there's some things that are quite clear about why the revolution happened. And then there's things that, you know, even for my own history, I've taken so much American history, and yet it's still like, really, what were they angry about? Something about taxation.
Yeah.
And they make that joke so many times, or something about taxes.
Yeah.
And no one really knows exactly why they're angry, but the Brits suck.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really a funny way about going about it, because it's like, and it shows that any war, though, really, you try to find like, what were they fighting about? And there's always like the thing that they ended up fighting about, and then the thing that actually really started it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, something about taxes.
Yeah. I love too that they show how the bald eagle was created with the explosion as it flew through the explosion.
It was a white eagle.
Yeah.
And then it got soot basically on it and then burnt, and it became the bald eagle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was no commentary on it. It just happened and it flew off, and you're like, oh my God, that was the bald eagle right there.
And then you know, Paul Revere is just, he's in love with his horse because he's never really had horses. And
okay, the scene where they find Paul Revere.
Oh my God!
Holy shit!
Oh my God!
It was like a rave party.
It was Fast and Furious.
Yeah, it was a rave Fast and Furious, and you have like
neon
lights everywhere, and girls in the mini bikinis and tiny, like super not historically accurate at all, and right?
They're horse racing.
They're riding on horses that are all like jacked up.
Yeah, and
everything about it looks like Fast and the Furious, except for the fact that they have horses, and some of their outfits are like Mad Max version of like Revolutionary War outfits. Yeah. And then you have Paul Revere come out, and he looks like a full metal knight. Yeah. And they're like jousting almost as well.
He's on Clydesdale, like, right? American Muscle.
He's on a Clydesdale that just comes in there and just takes the race. And I was just like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Because it was just so out of place, of course.
I love too that it's a Clydesdale and he's got like a Spanish voice too. Like the way they did that was pretty hilarious. Yeah. The horse talks.
The horse talks at the end. And
that was like a scene straight up like stereotypical like animal movie. Yeah. Right? Like, oh.
So good.
Oh, there's so many, like I had a hard time remembering things, but at the same time when I think about it, I start laughing, and it's just one of those ones where I highly say, like, if you want to laugh, go watch America.
And again,
motion picture.
Thomas Edison is a female. Yeah. And they're like, but Thomas is a girl's name. Well, I don't know what. It's a boy's name. It's a boy's name. Well, I don't know what you're talking about because my name's Thomas and I'm a girl. So basically, like, suck it. Yeah. She uses science. Yeah. She's like Iron Manning it at one point in the battle. And she's just, it's so funny. So there you go. We've just
and they, to rally up and to bring all the Americans together, they play Freebird. Of course. I thought they were gonna actually play. He's just like, what we need is a national anthem. I thought it was gonna be like a rocked out version of like the national anthem. Yeah. Right? No, it's and then Freebird. He starts playing Freebird. And like all like, the Americans show up to battle all the redcoats. And that was just hilarious. Yeah. They're all wearing like baseball jerseys. Yeah. and the giant battle between everybody and
the best the ending has the best
commentary,
the best commentary on the world. I think I will leave that be. I hope you go watch it. But yeah, the last the little bit after the declaration is finally announced and they've declared freedom there. Yeah, best commentary ever.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love the jokes too. Like, there's just the simple jokes too, where like they're like, you know, what we need is the fastest racist on the planet.
Right.
And like, I'm the fastest racist.
I'm the racist here.
I'm not a racist. But they're talking about running.
About racing, right? Yeah. So, yeah, and it's funny to think about that. You're like...
But I've never heard of someone being called a racist.
No,
like,
right? Like using that term, right? But that's what they're using it. And it's just like, why not? Why would you not be that,
like, right? It's a weird, like...
Oh, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, America, the motion picture. Go watch it.
It's on Netflix. It'll tickle your funny bone, and yeah. So with that too, also on Netflix, we did do another new movie actually.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a trilogy of films coming out over this next month here in July. The first one came out. It's based on the R.L. Stine Fear Street books. Mm-hmm. It was more of like, because like R.L. Stine had his like Goosebumps stuff, and then he went on to do more of like a teen series, and that was Fear Street, so a little bit harder edge. The thing that's kind of cool about this horror series is that we're going to see 3 movies over 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. This was part 1. It took place in 1994. And then...
it goes backwards in time.
Yeah, each. So they'll be finding out more about the mystery of the witch.
Yeah. So it goes to 78, is it?
Yeah.
And then back to 1666, which is the start of the witch.
Yeah. So what I thought was kind of cool is that they took this like teen series that came out in the 90s and they punched up to an R level so that those that would have read that stuff then had, you know, mm-hmm. It's still a teen movie, even though it's rated R. But it's a, yeah.
Well, you said it reminded you of like Scream, right? So then.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm curious about the second one, to see the vibe that it's going to give off, because it gives off so the first one totally for me gave off the slasher 90s Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer vibe. Like it totally plays up that kind of thing, but it punches it more into like now territory for mm-hmm. horror movie cinematography and banter and social issues, right? Mm-hmm. Not issues, social commentaries.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm wondering, like, will the part 2 be like that monster movie from the camp slasher, right?
Yeah,
it's a camp.
So is it going to be
like how are they going to do this? Because honestly, I really liked Fear Street 1994.
Yeah,
it was just enough of that nostalgic slasher movie that I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed every moment.
Well, I like that you couldn't call it at the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like, oh, okay, that's the bad guy. You know, it actually gave enough twists throughout.
Yeah.
As you learned more things, that it kept you engaged of trying to figure out the mystery of it.
And it kept adding. It kept adding to it.
And I thought that was really cool. It was not flat. You know, right?
And there was some good kills in it too.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like it was pretty to look at. Like a lot of the shots were really pretty. Mm-hmm. And you know, I wasn't too thrilled with some of the characters and some likability.
Yeah.
But it also it's meant to speak more to teenage girls, mm-hmm. I think, at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I really got a kick. Like I'm excited for next week when 78 drops. Like I think it'll be a fun little thing. Mm-hmm. And if only if 78 had come out this week, and it would have been part of the camp episode,
right? Like, oh my goodness,
totally missed the mark. I mean, come on, Netflix.
Jeez, oh.
You know. But no, what did you think, Kitty?
No, I agree. As I say, I liked that it kept changing, and it wasn't easy to call. Again, I agree that some of the characters weren't my favorite. I mean, I'm sad with couple of the kills were a little harder to handle.
I guess it gave them a bit more emotional weight because they changed as characters throughout the movie. So then it was really sad to see them go.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see how it will change the characters that have survived for the next, because they're going to continue on. You're going to see more of it, but they're going to show up again in the third one.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how they're going to weave it all together. But yeah, I really enjoyed the suspense that it did have.
Yeah.
And it wasn't boring by any means, but it wasn't corny where it's like, oh God, like this.
It wasn't tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
It still was an R-rated movie.
Yeah. There was a lot actually, happening with it. And I'm excited for the next one.
Right. So I would definitely check out Fear Street if you're into horror and you want some, it was never dumb. It never had a movie where it felt like it was dumb.
No.
It sometimes you get those horror movies that are like trying to base themselves off of like the nostalgia of the 90s horror movies, and they don't quite grasp the goofiness that were those movies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah. So I was impressed that it held that. It's the same director for all three, so I'm curious to see if the style will change at all.
Yeah, is it going to reflect more of the era that it's almost trying to represent?
Yeah, or is it just going to stay the same?
Yeah.
Or will it change? But yeah, no,
it's definitely different. Only the trailer at the camp it has that brighter.
Yeah.
Because there's the outdoor shots. Yeah. Everything here was very much at night in the dark.
Yeah.
So be curious to see that.
Yeah,
so.
And it definitely will make you look at supermarkets a different way.
Yes.
At the end of it. So, and just as America was saved by baseball, we too decided to watch some good old fashioned baseball movies.
That was like kind of an accidental theme started.
And we also then realized that this theme is a lot deeper than we could go, and we only ended up getting in 2 baseball movies.
Yeah, we just found all these other. We're like, oh, we could have watched this. We could have watched this.
So there could be another baseball episode in the future.
I think there should just be a sports episode.
No.
Oh, just baseball.
Just baseball.
Yeah,
because there's enough to have a football episode, and there's enough to have a hockey episode.
Hockey is no problem.
Because Kiddo wants to do the Ducks trilogy again.
Can we watch Varsity Blues, you and me, for football?
If it fits into the football theme, the football theme. We should save it for when football starts.
That was a movie that I watched like nearly every week as a teenager. Oh my goodness. That was my life.
Okay, we'll save those memories.
Yeah.
For the football episode.
Oh yeah, totally. So yeah, we should do that for when.
And then we got to do a basketball episode then.
Okay, there you go. That'd be new. Okay, so this is baseball, man.
And then there's got to be a soccer episode.
There's a little bit of baseball.
But there'll be a baseball episode.
Yeah, there will.
There'll have to be because there's other movies we wanted to watch. We just didn't have the time.
This is a taste of baseball.
This is just a little
just a little bit.
This is like getting to second base.
Yeah, there you go. Right? Yeah. Well, just a reminder that baseball saved America. So, we had to pay homage to it here. So
we cracked onto Disney Plus
again.
And I like to tell you where we at least watched it. So if you got the same kind of stuff, you can go find these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no sense in just telling you we watched something and not saying how we watched it. Because if we don't do that, then you'd be like, oh, you know what? I really want to watch that again. And then you can't find it. So for us, it's on Disney Plus. The Sandlot, the quintessential 90s coming of age baseball movie. Mm-hmm. Now, this movie I haven't watched in a long time either. Yeah. This was from 94.
I'm going to say it's got to be the magical year of 94. I haven't.
93 is a magic year.
93 is a magic year. I hadn't watched this movie for a very, very long time. If you had asked me before we watched it to tell
93, it was from the 93.
There we go.
The magic year.
If you had asked me to tell you the story, I would have gone, I can't remember. I remember this is another one of the ones that my family loves to quote. I can remember the quotes from them. I could not remember the movie. As soon as I started watching, it all came back.
All come back to me now.
I was like, oh yeah, this.
There was flashes of lightning and something.
If you can't sing it right, don't sing it.
And I'm gonna totally destroy this song.
By the way, that's one of my favorite
nostalgia
Celine Dion songs.
And it's
you need to stop right now. Oh goodness.
That should be the like RADstalgia theme.
Celine Dion, It's All Coming Back to Me Now?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Someone needs to write that for us.
Oh, it needs to happen.
It's all coming.
Okay, we might need to work on that. But anyways, back to Sandlot here.
Back to Sandlot.
Are you done?
Take me back.
I was trying to say that it's, I was able to remember it, and as it was happening, I was like, oh, okay, I remember how much I love this movie. Like, I have actually seen it more than I remembered seeing it, right? And so it was really fun to be able to watch that again and have all those different memories, right? So.
Oh, totally.
What are your thoughts on it?
It was really fun to be able to sit back and watch this movie again, because it is that memory, that good old fashioned nostalgia memory of the 90s movies.
Yeah.
And that itself was the nostalgia of that time frame.
Yeah, because it took part in a days gone by, right?
Yeah.
So
and I enjoy the dramatic aspect that comes from it, even though there's the goofy humor in it. The dramatic aspect that is missing in kids' movies today, family movies today.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just we talked about even Camp Nowhere, that 90s set of like films had, and it's something that happened in the 80s as well, but they had more weight to them. They had more, something going on.
Yeah.
And this is another coming of age, finding friends, like all that. And it's just so well put together that it's just enjoyable even now.
I think it's
years later.
It stands because it talks, let me see if I can gather my thoughts here. Just like a classic book, a classic movie should be able to speak to different generations. Yeah. It should deal with a core problem that people can relate to even 10, 20, whatever years later, right? That you can still find something about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think my opinion is a lot of the movies that are being made are not going to stand that test.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to speak to kids 20 years from now and really feel like they're going through those same problems.
Yeah. Because the thing is, these are dealing with problems no matter what age or what era they're still there, right? Yeah.
And they're
finding community, finding friends, finding like mobility, fitting in.
So there's going to be changes, of course, because you look at how they it's a small town. Like I watched some of it where it was like the kid was just like, "Oh, I'll see you later, Mom," and he just leaves.
Yeah.
And like the concept is so foreign to me and you because kiddo's never been like that. The world really isn't set up like that. No. It was for when I was younger still too. It was like, oh, Mom, we're leaving. The kids in the neighborhood are here. We're gone. So yes, the world has changed by all means, but you can still find that concept of okay, you're going to go and find some friends. Your friends are here. Okay. You're making sure I know where you are. Okay. We're good type thing. Like you can still find those core concepts. And I think that, watching this was still I was very excited to share with kiddo because it's not trying to be goofy. It's being serious, but it's being funny and, taking a tall tale and trying to put you in that, just trying to put you in that place of what they were kind of worried about and what they were thinking. And it's still, because it was such a legend that they were dealing with, just reminds you that they were still children. Yeah. And so it's just got such a unique heart to it. Yeah. And I remember now why it is so classic. Yeah.
I think out of all the ones that we've watched with kiddo over these last little while here, I think this ended up being his favorite. Yeah. He laughed the most because of when they had to get the ball back from the beast, all that humor and all that.
So kiddo is afraid of dogs.
He's totally afraid of dogs.
We don't quite know why at all, but it's become very, very apparent that he is. So
I swear in a past life he was eaten by a roaming band of chihuahuas.
It fed right into his fear for that. And I'm trying to explain to him, like, especially when Hercules ends up staring at Smalls, and it's just like he was super on edge. Yeah. I'm like, and then he licks his face. I'm like, dude, see, it's just a sign of affection. The dog's just lonely. Yeah. Most often a dog just wants to play. And so I'm trying to remind him, dogs are not trying to eat you. Right. and I was trying when he was chasing the ball and chasing the kid, it was like, look, he's not trying to hurt him. He hasn't been able to run. He wants to play. You know, this is the reason behind that myth. Yes, it can seem scary.
There's always a reason for the behavior,
but
right?
Think about it. Yeah, exactly. Right. So it turned into a bit of a real life, lesson as well. Right. So, and then I get emotional and I forget every time now, though, when they talk about when they meet, I can't remember his name now, the old man. And just, having that idea, he's just this lonely old man. I love the line, well, why didn't you just come to the front door? I would have gotten you the ball. And it's just like, oh my God. But then, when you, the very, very end of it, when you come around, you realize that, the guy who was in the very beginning, he's a narrator and it's Small's grown up, and then he's watching the guy play for the Dodgers, and you see all of that, and it's very emotional on a level that never hit me as a kid.
Yeah.
Right. To find that the realized dream and the connection that can still be there as an adult. And that was something I think new, right? Because I hadn't watched it for so long.
And then I think that's something special. You watch it as a kid and you can relate to the kids and you relate to the situations and all that. But then if you watch it 25, 30 years later, you can then see it in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think there is something to be said for a possibility of not necessarily watching something to death, because it loses that heart. Right,
because you have a chance to let it change.
You've now grown,
right?
You've grown. You don't watch it every year, and then it's just like you're stuck in that rose-colored world.
Yeah.
But you get to watch it then from a different point of view, and then you too then get to share it with your family.
Yeah.
In a different way, right?
Yeah. Well, because even as being a parent, you you can look at it differently about what his parents are dealing with. The hardship and the worry that she has about her kid not finding friends. I have that same worry, something that would never even have crossed my mind to relate to when I was younger, of course. And, thinking about it now, and you're just like, maybe I should just boot kiddo out the door and say, find friends, so different thing, you pick out different things, right? And, or then you realize how you have a different perspective on how the kids interact, or a new respect for the positives and the standing up that they do. And, you want to see that hope again in kids that would stand up against someone who's being bullied. And, there's so much different going on. And I love when you can find a story like that where you can always find something new about it, and it's always going to speak to someone because of the core concepts, and that's the definition of a classic right there. So
totally, and it is it's a classic, and on this RADstalgia, it still stood up. It stood up in a different way.
Yeah.
And it was nice to be able to share that one with Kiddo, because he did get a lot out of it, I think.
Yeah.
And it was great to see.
And then my new super soft spot for animals, then also adding in how sad I was for the dog, how lonely he was, and how excited he was to see people. And like when the fence fell, oh my God, I about died. I was just like, oh my God, save the dog.
So speaking of Katie's need to help animals and whatnot, we watched a documentary about India today as well, and it was about taggers, and they started talking about if a tagger, there's so many few taggers that a male tagger, when he's looking for a mate, if they're not his cubs, he will kill the cubs and then make new cubs. Yeah, so that then the female is more inclined to mate, because now she doesn't have to worry about cubs anymore. Holy bejesus, not okay with that. So then all of a sudden, then there was this scene where there was these baby taggers and a mom, and the focusing is and the male tagger, and she's like, no, you're not gonna make me watch this tagger kill these other, right? And then it was and they are his cubs. And she was just like, oh, thank God. Do not make me watch this. Oh my God. And so Kiddo's just like, Mom, but it's nature. Just chill. It's nature. And it's so funny because you think about that. It's still atrocious, of course, but on an animal level, I mean, it's still horrible. Could you imagine yourself? You just kick open someone's front door and kill their kids and mate with the woman of the house? Now I want you as a wife, so I'm just going to kill your kids so that you can be with me. It
it sounds so unbelievably horrible.
Right? Oh, totally.
Like, oh my goodness.
So
so that was
that was where
there wasn't anything really too bad though. After that, I calmed down, and then it was quite agreeable.
Yeah. So that was kind of the problematic moment, but that I had to bring that up because of Katie's animal thing. But yeah, so Sandlot, it's on Disney Plus. I think that's the thing that's kind of cool is now with the Fox merger and all that finally done, or 20th Century Pictures. There's a lot more content on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Not just through the Star branch that they've added to worldwide customers, but like all the family movies from 20th Century are starting to show up as well. So we're starting to get more content. Like we were going through those lists, and there's just so much stuff on there that we could actually make movie. Like we could literally we could have had a baseball episode just through what we could watch through Disney Plus.
Yeah.
We could have a hockey episode just through Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's what we got all the idea for all the sports. Right? Is they're all on Disney.
Football and all those
okay, so we have another baseball movie.
Well, we've got lots of summer still.
No, I know, but we have another one we watched.
We do.
I gotta get to that, man.
There is.
Okay, so I pulled rank, and I said I want to watch this movie. Because I watched this a lot when I was younger.
I'm impressed with that because it's very dry.
That's why that was one of my comments. Field of Dreams. I watched it a lot, and my first comment is, wow, I can't believe I watched this so much because it is very dramatic.
Right?
But we were a very baseball-loving family. And I can understand that concept, though. Baseball has a different special place, I think, than it does now, even too. But I can really appreciate it still. Not saying that you can't understand the concept of it, of being, caring about it, but
me?
Yeah, you.
Dude, we grew up with baseball at home.
No, I know, but
my grandmother coached baseball.
Oh, I know.
So she taught me how to do all that stuff. Like she would watch the Blue Jays anytime it was on.
True.
So
it's just, I think that's why, but I'm still surprised because it is not a kid's movie at all.
No.
But you know what? I thought, we're just gonna go with it. It's not like kiddo can't watch it. And it's good for him to see some of this stuff too, just as a, history lesson and a different
comprehension lesson. Too.
Comprehension, exactly. Because there's a lot going on. So we went for that, and it's definitely interesting when you try to take out of the face value of what is actually happening, and you start thinking like, okay, so it's not supernatural. What could all the symbolism be within all of this, right? And I think that was a whole new experience for it this time around for you and me both, was trying to find some of that background of what it could be trying to say.
Yeah.
What is the concept, the message that they're using this to say? Because I always watched it with more of the face value feel.
It's easy too.
Because it's easier, right? But that was interesting, wondering, okay, is it just a midlife crisis? Is it actually death? And it's more like a purgatory and trying to create a heaven and dealing with your unfinished business and baggage, those, because that's very much what it was, is he was very upset that he never got to reconcile with his father before he died. And, all of that, his life has always been about baseball. And so you start having all these people that had regrets and need, one last wish and those types of things. And so everyone has something in common. So, it's great to be able to, you see him, like, you think he's going to be helping all these other people, which it shows that he does. But in reality, all he's really trying to do is give himself peace. Right.
Yeah.
And that's, that was one thing I thought that was interesting, how, and Kiddo was quite like, it just ended. What? Because as soon as he makes up with his dad at the end, then it just is over. Yeah. And he was just mortified that it just ended. Like I think he wanted to see all the people show up and the cheers and the baseball players play. And I almost thought it was interesting because you never got to find out if more people would be able to see the baseball players or not.
Yeah.
It was just a mystery for it. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I love I love James Earl Jones's character, Terrence Mann. He goes from so grumpy and angry to so, you can tell just that you get that little bit of rust off of him and break through and talk to him, and then the writer in him comes out, the journalist aspect, and he wants to learn. You can tell how much he cared about the human experience and talking to people and learning about people. Yeah. And now it became this mystery that he wanted to solve. And he was so happy to be able to be doing it. Right. But one of my favorite scenes, and I super started to cry, was when Doc steps off the baseball field to save the little girl who fell off, the daughter fell off the bleachers. And I because I suddenly remembered what had happened, and I was like, I started crying because it was so meaningful for him that yes, baseball was such a big thing for his life that he had said, but being a doctor was more important to him. And that was the thing that was actually fulfilling for him. And that was his choice to be able to do.
And that's why he was able then to let go.
And that's why it was okay. That was okay. Yeah. Baseball was great, but no, the doctor really did mean more to me. Yeah. And that was okay. And he makes that choice. And it's so, he's at peace with that. And it was just so meaningful. And I loved that because he didn't even, he only hesitated for a moment. Yeah. And,
well, he only has to, yeah.
It was just, wait a second, what does this mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's.
So what's the most famous line of the movie?
The most famous line?
Yeah.
Are you asking me, or are you?
I'm asking you. What I want to hear what you say.
Most famous line. Oh, of course, if you build it, they will come.
Wrong.
Well, obviously, I was waiting for that because as soon as what I was going to say,
you are right for what it is, but you misquoted the line.
If you build it, he will come. Yeah. I was going to say, you're right.
So it is the most misquoted line in movie history.
Because more people show up. But you're right. As soon as you said it, I was like, what? And then, because I remember when we first started watching it, I was like, if you build it, he will come. What the hell are you talking about? Yeah. And then, because it's that idea, though, and I like how Shoeless Joe Jackson at the end, he tells him that, though, if you build it, he will come. And it's like, wait a second, he's not referring to himself. Like, and then again, it was that, oh, wait a second, this is what it is. And then I started crying. Yeah. Because the whole point of this, it wasn't Joe Jackson. It wasn't anyone else. It was his dad. Yeah. That was the he. And you're right. Because as soon as you said it, I was like, wait a second. Because I remember being like, wait, it's they. What?
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how many at home were just like, at first you were like, where are you going with this, Mike? You cray.
Right? No, you're right. If you build it, he will come.
Yeah. So it is not if you build it, they will come. Yeah. So it is.
Look at that.
He will come. Yeah. There's your history.
It's my trivia for you. Yeah.
So here's some more fun stuff about the.
Yeah, you learned all sorts of fun things.
I was digging into stuff because I was always curious.
This is what he likes to find trivia about movies anyway.
So the it was built on two separate farms.
The actual baseball field.
The baseball field during movie production and all that. And the one farmer wanted to keep it up. The other farmer started to take it down. Well, once the movie was such a big hit, people started coming and wanting to see if the Field of Dreams was real. So then the one farmer started making money off of it. So the other farmer then helped him build the rest of it back up. And they had competing souvenir stands on opposite sides of the
It's like
diamond.
The different teams, right?
Yeah. And eventually the one farmer bought the other farmer out. Then like another company bought it and was going to develop the whole area, and that got vetoed. It is still standing to this date. You could go to, it's Iowa, right?
Yes.
And you could go.
It's Iowa. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa.
You could see the Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
And you can actually stay at the bed and breakfast, and you can play on the Field of Dreams.
Well, you said every year they have the local baseball.
Yeah, local baseball organization. Now, I don't know if this is still going on or if it had stopped for a while, but like for a while, at least when the original family was running it, the local ball teams would dress up in old-timey jerseys, and they would come out of the corn and play a game for
I think that's super awesome.
People that were watching. So I thought that was pretty cool. And apparently actually this year the Major League Baseball is association or league?
League.
It is league?
Yeah.
MBL?
Yeah, Major League Baseball.
They are actually going to be doing a game August 12th, I found out.
Yeah.
They will be doing a game at the Field of Dreams.
But the actual, major...
I don't know what teams it is. I just saw that they're actually going to be there, and I'm hoping it'll be broadcast because it seems like it's a big enough thing. It's probably like the heritage kind of game.
Definitely should be the White Sox.
Right? I think that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
So those are some fun little things. So yeah, you yourself, you could go see the Field of Dreams.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
That's still up and running today as a tourist attraction.
Nice.
So that shows the legacy that this movie left behind for people.
Well, I think I love Terrence Mann's speech in there about with the they'll come, they'll show up because they won't know why. But they're trying to find their childhood. They're trying to find that freedom and that simplicity that a game gave them. And I love, because you could really put anything in there. Yeah. It's just a pastime of something, right? And so it's such a simple concept, and it's so meaningful because, we're all kind of still looking for something that brings us some peace and some joy. And so I thought that's really awesome to hear. And I think, Kiddo's favorite point, he loved when Karen's, not Karen, that's the daughter, but his brother-in-law finally saw all the baseball players. Yeah. And he just thought that was hilarious that he finally saw all of that. Yeah. And how long have these baseball players been here? And because he thought it was so great, all the shots when he would just walk through the people and not see them at all, right? So
well, that was interesting too, because Kiddo was like, I thought we were just gonna watch a boring baseball movie, but it was really interesting because it was not what I expected, and there was weird stuff happening.
Well, he was like, it was almost like a mystery, like they were solving something, and so he found a whole nother level that he wasn't expecting out of it. And I thought that was really cool because it really is the mystery. They're trying to figure out what all the symbols are. And so then when
I mentioned the idea that maybe it's the idea that they all could be dead and they're all looking to get to heaven, and this is their acceptance space. Yeah, he just had that mind blowing the ghosts weren't actually the real ghosts, they were just other ghosts, and they were all ghosts, and you're just boom.
Yeah, right. His mind was just blowing.
Right. So I thought that was pretty funny, because there's levels. You could see it as a mental break. You could see it as so many things that he actually did die. It could have been the idea that he died in the field. Yeah. Right? Because when he first hears, if you build it, that could be him dying, and that he's lost in the field because he's so there's lots of things that you could look at and deconstruct the whole thing, but it is a classic universal film for sure.
So I'm glad we watched it. I'm glad I shared it with Kiddo because it was he got more out of it than I expected. And it was a fun RADstalgia only because it was so different than I remember. So much more dramatic, but still had so much heart, right? So.
Yeah. And one thing I thought was interesting was, even though James Earl Jones was in Field of Dreams and in The Sandlot, he actually does not like baseball.
Yeah, that was really funny to hear.
He does not like it. But it shows you that then how good of an actor he is. Yeah. Right. To show that, he could fake it enough to make you believe that he cared about that game when he physically actually does not.
Just doesn't care at all. Yeah.
So that's kind of a fun little thing. But so there you go. Baseball. Yeah. America. Baseball summer camp.
We made it, man.
So that was our supersized episode. We turducken Oreo stuffed you right to the brim with lots of things. I'm glad you stuck through it. I don't know if you had to put us on pause or what, but we viewed Field of Dreams. I just told you all these things about how I tell you we viewed Field of Dreams through our cable box. It was through the Crave HBO.
But it's on Netflix too.
But it's apparently on Netflix as well. Yeah. So there's lots of choices going down there for you to be able to check that one out. Yeah. So next week, what do we got for you next week? I already can tell you what next week is gonna kind of look like for you. You've got the new Chris Pratt movie that is on Amazon. I don't remember what it's called, but
Tomorrow War, I think.
Yeah, but it's directed by the guy that did Lego Batman movies, so I'm curious to see where that's going to take us. We're also going to have part 2 of Fear Street.
Yeah.
And we're also going to be looking at Black Widow.
New movies.
That's right. The MCU Black Widow is coming out July 9th, and we'll be checking that one out. Plus whatever else we find.
And Loki. Oh,
it's going to be a fantastic week for you to come back. So you know what? We love you all. Give us a like. Give us a share. Tell us to your friends. Introduce us to them, because we want to get in their ear holes too. We want to get inside a lot more people. So share us with everyone you know, so that we can then infect positive pop culture vibes for everyone around. So stay rad, dudes.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. Want more rad content? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review.
And remember, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes!